This is the second of two videos about the common problems with diesel Land Rover, Range Rover and Jaguar cars. In the first video, we looked at the side effects of DPF regeneration, such as oil dilution and DPF blockage. We then looked at the more serious issues involving the timing chain, the crankshaft, the main bearings and the turbo, ultimately leading to engine damage and engine failure. And in this video, we're going to look at what you can do if your vehicle has suffered with any one or more of these problems. Now, ultimately, it all is about evidence. And that's particularly important if the problems you're suffering with your vehicle have occurred after 6 months from you taking delivery of it. And that's because the burden of proving the supplying dealer or finance company is liable rests with you. Now, I'm going to look at three types of evidence. The first is going to be about the mechanics, what's gone wrong with the engine and why. The second is going to be the basis upon which you were sold the vehicle. And thirdly, the provenance of the vehicle, the service history, and how to obtain that if you don't already have it. So first, we're going to look at the mechanical evidence. Now, the supplying dealer and the finance company will probably tell you that the only way to ascertain what happened to this vehicle and what went wrong is to remove the engine and dismantle it, which is going to be a very expensive job, probably thousands of pounds. But there's a far simpler way of doing that, and I'm going to explain that now. First, ask the mechanic to check the oil level and record the oil level in a document, like an estimate, for example. Secondly, ask the mechanic to remove the oil filter and inspect it. And if there are metal particulates or debris in the filter, to record that in that same document. And thirdly, is to get a forensic oil sample analysis report, which you can do that by ordering a sample kit online. Now, I personally like Miller's Oil, not because I'm on any retainer from them, but because the reports that they produce are very easy to understand. And you can order that kit online at millersoil.co.uk/oil-analysis, and it costs £40. You'll receive in the post a sample pot, and you should ask your mechanic to take an oil sample and put it in that sample pot, and then you put this oil sample pot in the self-addressed envelope and send it back to Miller's Oil. And usually in a few days, you'll have that forensic report, which is incredibly useful. It will show you what contaminants are in the oil. It'll enable you to identify what those are and what engine parts they relate to. It'll also give you an overview of how old the oil is, the visual condition of the oil, whether it's diluted and whether it has any soot content. And that will enable you to put the jigsaw together to establish a causal link between potentially oil dilution or soot content and DPF regeneration and engine failure. The second is going to be looking at how the vehicle was advertised. And you can do that by obtaining a copy of the advert from Auto Trader, assuming the vehicle was originally advertised with Auto Trader, using this email address, which is customersecurity@autotrader.co.uk. And you're simply going to write, "Dear Sir, I purchased the Jaguar F-Pace registration number XYZ from John Smith Motors on the 1st of January 2024. A dispute has ensued. Please send to me a copy of the advertisement." And usually in about 24 hours, you'll have that. And that'll enable you to have evidence of exactly how that vehicle was presented to you, whether it was advertised as having full service history, whether it had one owner, whether it had ever been involved in an accident, and so on and so forth. And then finally, we're going to look at the service history, not only to establish whether or not the information in the advert was accurate. If it was advertised with full service history, does it have full service history? But also to get an idea as to whether or not the vehicle has been serviced in accordance with the manufacturer's specification, which can be central to oil dilution and the degradation of the oil and ultimately engine failure. And you can do this simply as follows. If you were to Google Jaguar service history or Land Rover service history, you'll be taken to the online JLR service portal. you'll be asked to input the chassis number or the VIN, and that will bring up the online service history, or at least the service history that's been recorded by Jaguar Land Rover dealers or Jaguar Land Rover specialists. And you'll simply be able to compare what the service intervals for your car should be. For example, every 21,000 miles or 24 months, or 16,000 miles in every 12 months. And you can then see the dates as to whether or not the vehicle has been properly serviced. If it hasn't, and you're finding contaminants in the oil that relate to the wear of metal parts in the engine, there's every chance that the two things are linked. I hope this video has been helpful. If you require any more information, please telephone us on 0333 700 7676 or visit our website at stormcatcher.co.uk.